Big question is there a difference between financial aid for semesters here at Edinboro and differences for like winter and summer semesters?
That is a big question, and unfortunately it's a complicated question. The simple, fast answer is yes, there is a difference. Generally speaking, you're going to use up most of your financial aid if you are a full-time student in the fall and spring semesters. You can use some of your spring financial aid to cover winter classes if you want to. The best advice if you're looking to do that is to come into the aid office. We can take a look at your spring aid before the winter term begins and help you to see if you have enough to budget to cover the courses that you're interested in. And then for summertime, there's a whole separate application process. I think we'll talk about that a little bit later though. But generally speaking, you can use any financial aid that you haven't used during the fall, winter, and spring sessions, or also there's some other loan opportunities that you could apply for as well.
Is there a cap amount of financial aid that you could receive?
Yes and no. You can receive as much free grant money and scholarship money as you can find. We would never refuse it or send any back. If you can find that source of money or if we award it to you, you can have as much of that as you want. However, with your loan dollars, there is a cap that you can borrow, and that cap cannot exceed something called your cost of attendance budget. If you're curious, if you want to know what your cost of attendance budget is, you can find that in your Scott's account in the financial aid section. It'll say right there, cost of attendance budget, and it itemizes everything out there for you. They allow allowances for tuition and fees, of course, room and board, books, supplies, a broad miscellaneous category, travel expenses, things like that, things that are related to obtaining your education. It's a large number, and hopefully you wouldn't have to borrow all of it in loans.
That's really great information to know. So now that we got most of the background information, how do you actually apply for the FAFSA?
Well, you can apply in several different ways. The easiest and by far the most popular way of applying is online. And you do that at the website www.fafsa.gov. Make sure you do not end up at fafsa.com. It can be very easy. We're so used to that. We want to buy a pair of shoes, payless.com. If you want to go shopping, Kohl's.com. But make sure you're actually at the .gov extension when filling out your FAFSA. Otherwise, they're going to charge you an $80 fee. Not just this year, but every year from here on out unless you take some sort of action, because they'll send you, they call them helpful emails throughout the year. You and I would probably call them spam, and they charge you for that. So make sure you're not at FAFSA.com. It's FAFSA.gov. You can also fill out a paper application. Maybe if your parents don't have internet at home and you prefer to fill out paper applications, you can come and get one of those from our office. And interestingly enough, you can still fill one out via the telephone as well.
Wow. All right, so since we filled out this application now, hypothetically, when is the deadline?
The deadline for filling out the FAFSA here at Edinboro University is March 15th. You definitely want to make sure that you get the application done before that deadline. It's going to put you in the best possible situation for qualifying for the most amount of financial aid that you possibly can, especially if you work on campus. If you're a student worker and you hope to retain that job in future semesters, you have to make sure you file by that deadline. We award student work up until then, and we always expend all of the money that we have actually before March 15th, but we've made a commitment to students that as long as you meet that deadline, you can still have that work award. The other thing that filing by the deadline does for you is it puts you in time for the fee estate grant. The fee estate grant is tied very closely with the FAFSA. Their deadline for completion is May 1st, which is after our deadline, certainly, but as long as you stick to our deadline, you're also going to be meeting theirs and then also putting yourself in the best situation for our school itself. I would like to mention that we do have 3 FAFSA workshops to help our students coming up. The first one is actually this Saturday, the 28th, and that will be here on main campus in the Hamilton Hall lab. For those that aren't familiar, it's in the basement of Hamilton Hall. It's going to be from 10 a.m. to 1 p.m. The next one will be March 7th, and that one is at the Perico College up in Erie. That will be in the Barn Lab, also from 10 to 1 p.m. And then our final one is March 14th, which as you can see is the very last day that you can file and still be on time. That one will be held on main campus, again in the Hamilton Hall basement, and again from 10 to 1 p.m. Lots of help available. Even if it's your second or third time filling out the FAFSA, it can be intimidating, and you can come and receive one-on-one attention and help in a computer lab.
That's great. So do you have to reapply for the FAFSA every year?
You do every year. A lot of times families and freshmen think, all right, I've done my FAFSA, I conquered it and I'm good. And that's true for this year, but you do have to reapply every year. And if you plan to go on to graduate school, don't forget to apply in your senior year of undergraduate as well. And every year the deadline is the same, March 15th.
All right, so back to the summer application. Is there a huge difference between the two? Is it a different setup? Is there different guidelines that you have to follow for it?
Yes and no. There's not a large difference. There's no separate external application. As long as you've got your FAFSA done, that's the large part that needs done. The summer application is really to tell the financial aid office that you are taking summer classes and that you would like to use aid. A lot of the summer financial aid comes in the form of student loans, and we need to initiate that process with the Department of Education. The only way that we're going to know to do that is if the student tells us. So the summer aid application is short. It's a one-page application. You're going to put in your student demographics, let us know what your plans are, and the type of aid that you want to use. We do have some internal funds here at Edinboro to support our summer school initiative. So if you are one of those students who've used up all of your funds in the fall and spring, but you do still want to take summer courses, make sure you fill out that application and indicate somewhere on there or in a separate sheet of paper what your intentions are. Maybe your intention is to make sure that you graduate within 4 years, so you want to take some extra classes, or maybe you're doing an internship, or even study abroad. These are important things that we need to know so that we can help you with some of our internal funds if we have them and if you qualify. And those can be grant funds also.
That's awesome. So is there any other important information that you think students should know?
Just to make sure they're checking their Edinboro University email account. That's the only email account that the financial aid office is actually legally allowed to use, because we're talking about pretty sensitive and financial information for them. We do send a lot of scholarship applications through the student email, and if they're not checking their email, they're going to miss out on that potential opportunity. And also to follow up with any request for information that we might send to them. Missing deadlines and missing paperwork can actually cost the students money. And then finally, we're here to help. Anytime they have questions or concerns, paperwork that they're not sure about, or having a difficult time interpreting, bring it to us, call us, email us. It's our intention to hopefully make sure the student qualifies for the most amount of money that they possibly can.
Well, thank you so much for your time, and I enjoyed having you here today, Alyssa.
Thank you. I enjoyed being here.
If you want more information on the FAFSA, head to Hamilton Hall on campus or log on to FAFSA.gov. I'm Sierra Smith, and thanks for watching.